In today's video, we're going to talk about the hidden truth about motivation that doesn't get talked about enough. Now, the reason why this is important for you to understand because this is going to dictate the level of success that you're going to have in your life. I can guarantee you that once you understand this, it's going to make it easier for you to be more successful in your life, accomplish your goals, pretty much accomplish anything you put your mind to. Most people think the key to be successful in life is about relying on motivation when that's not the case at all. The key to being successful in life is showing up when you don't feel like it. It's the hardcore discipline and the daily habits that you make a promise to yourself to stick to even when you don't feel like it. Motivation just comes and goes. One day you're motivated and the next hour you're not. This is why some days you feel like going to the gym and then some days you don't feel like going because that same feeling and emotions you have when you're motivated, they don't always stay there. You gotta understand that you're human, okay? Trying to stay motivated is almost just like trying to stay positive all the time. It's literally impossible. But life having its ups and downs, you're always gonna be a stagnant person if you're constantly relying on always being motivated. Motivation is a feeling, okay? This is exactly why it comes and it goes. Feelings are influenced by so many different things, a lot of times that are out of your control. This is why I always try to tell people honor your feelings. If you don't feel like going outside, you just don't feel like going outside. You don't feel like talking to nobody, you just don't feel like talking to nobody. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just in our nature as humans. Our emotions are always going to be all over the place. It's just part of life. Motivation works the exact same way, but the key difference is when you're always relying on motivation to get things done, especially the tasks that need to be done, you're gonna always be stagnant. I remember one time I didn't feel like going to the gym. It was my last workout of the week. I was off work the following day, but I just couldn't muster up enough energy and motivation to want to go to the gym. I didn't feel like doing it. But there wasn't no other limitations outside of being tired on why I didn't want to go. Now I wasn't burnt out or anything, like my body wasn't sore. Mentally, I just didn't feel like it. This would have been my second month being consistent going to the gym. I started noticing gains. I was picking up weight. My approach to it was I made all this progress and all I'm doing is increasing the chance of it going to waste because I simply just didn't feel like it. Think about all the potential gains and the progress you can make in your life when you're trying to work towards accomplishing goals, all because you didn't feel like doing the work that's required to keep it or to maintain it or to achieve it. This is why it's so important to not solely rely on motivation. The simple fact that I still went to the gym that day actually ended up being one of my best workouts. Not only that, I hit 3 PRs. Whenever you're pondering or procrastinating on doing something, the easiest way to do it is just by simply making an attempt. And I mean a genuine attempt. Just make an attempt. My attempt was I'm just gonna at least get to the gym. Let me at least get to the gym. Once I got to the gym, I still wasn't motivated, but I told myself, look, let me at least try. I can at least try. Let me try to do 5 sets of this exercise and then see how I feel. Once I did it, everything switched. My body kicked into high gear. Mentally, I got in tune. The music started bumping, and it ended up being one of my best workouts. But I never would have saw any of that if I at least didn't make an attempt. You got to understand that when you aren't feeling motivated, the easiest way to do things when you aren't motivated is at least make an attempt. Just try something. Do it for 5 minutes. The point is there's never a right time. All right. You're not always going to be in the mood to do the things that you need to do. But you got to understand when it comes to being successful, your success in your life in any direction is going to be heavily reliant on the amount of discipline that you have to do things when you don't feel like it. As I said earlier in the video, motivation is just like that emotional skill I was telling you about. Your emotions is always going to be over the place. That's just the nature of life, okay? But the key thing is when you're working towards finding a balance, having that balance between doing things when you don't feel like it versus just waiting until you feel like it. So if you're being told not to rely on motivation, then what do you rely on? Take action. That's what you need to rely on, is taking action. Now, taking action doesn't just rely on motivation. It starts with discipline and momentum. Remember earlier in the video when I talked about how just making an attempt even when you don't feel like it, it's the same idea. At least make an attempt or take an action on that project that you've been procrastinating on. That's the key component of action. When you start working on a project, okay, you end up getting into what's called a flow state. All that resistance you had in the beginning and not feeling like doing something or not feeling like starting, all that slowly starts to subside. Then at some point you enter what's called a flow state. Just literally just a constant stream of focus. This is why I was telling you, at least give yourself 5 minutes. Just attempt the task for at least 5 minutes or do something to get you in that direction. Same thing with me when I talked about when I went to the gym. I didn't feel like going to the gym at all that day, But what I did is that I at least put on my workout clothes. I got my bag. I at least got in my car. Yeah, it took me a minute to start my car. I remember this day. But the reason why I remember it so vividly is because that was such a good day because I didn't feel like going to the gym and I ended up having one of my best workouts that week. That was one of my best workouts, all because I made an attempt and I gave myself, let me just try this for 5 minutes. In my case, 5 minutes is really doing 5 sets, but you get the point. You can do this with anything, whether it's a project, whether it's researching for a job. If you start any task or make any attempt and give yourself at least 5 minutes, especially if it's something you have genuine interest for, you're gonna enter a flow state. And because, like I said, all the resistance that you had pent up before starting a task or making an attempt is going to subside. Next thing you know, it's going to come to you easy. You're going to start gaining momentum. You're going to get a kick out of it. You want to spend more time in it. That 5 minutes is going to turn into 10. 10 turns into 25. When I talk about entering a flow state, once you enter a flow state, you're naturally going to feel more motivated. Like, you know what? I wish I would have started this sooner. This actually is becoming easy to me. You're never going to experience that if you're waiting on motivation. The motivation starts to come to you and stick to you a lot easier when you start out doing things when you don't feel like it. This is why I'm so adamant about telling people, hey, your life ain't gonna change unless you do. And if you're waiting for a situation where you feel like changing your life, you're gonna be waiting for a good minute. To improve your life, you're going to go through phases of being uncomfortable. And the key thing to get out of an uncomfortable state, a lot of times, is doing things when you don't feel like it. This is why people struggle with trying to think and be positive. If you already naturally been a negative person and seeing things from a negative outlet, it is going to be uncomfortable at first to start being positive. And that when you're accustomed to thinking and doing things a certain way, or you have some habits that been ingrained in you for years now, it's going to be some uncomfortable trial and error to resolve those, but more on that for another video. I'm telling you, the sooner you take action, even when you don't feel like it, just make an attempt. You're going to enter that flow state and your motivation is going to come to you and it's going to feel great. It's going to work out. You're going to feel more inspired. Shoot, you're even going to get some feel good juices and some more creative ideas. Think about for like moving a car, right? The car broke down and you got to push it, right? You're like, dang, this is a heavy car. I'm not going to be able to move this. You try to push it anyways because you know you need to get your car out of the street. It's a little bit hard at first. And then all of a sudden you just happen to get a little bit of an incline. Next thing you know, the car starts moving faster. It becomes easier. Next thing you know, you manage to get your car off the road. Initially, it's going to be hard at first. But once you start moving, the momentum will pick up. Now, how do you build the momentum? Let's say you want to go work out for 30 minutes. Okay. Start out with just working out for 5. I know that sounds crazy. I know that's a little bit weird, but just hear me out. Start out working out for 5. Okay. If everything works out like it's supposed to, that 5 minutes is going to turn out into 10 minutes and so forth. This is how you build momentum. The easiest way to build momentum is by starting out small. Take whatever big task you have and then downsize it. And then eventually you start to get momentum that way. Only way you're going to get yourself up and going is by taking things bit by bit and starting out small. 5 minutes turn into 10 minutes, 10 minutes turn into 30. Next thing you know, you have an hour underneath your belt. The point is that once you take action when you don't feel like it, the motivation will follow. Motivation works better when you have an action that's applied first. Once you do this, it makes it easy for you to enter that flow state and you can stay consistent. Key component for all this to work, being able to take action when you don't feel like it, is by setting up your environment. Make your environment work for you. So let's say, for example, maybe you want to read a book, right? Let's say your goal is to read a chapter a day. Set your book right by your nightstand. That way, when you first get up in the morning, the book is right there. Or you can leave it on your nightstand when you go to sleep. That way, when you go in your room, it's right there. Keep your phone in a whole separate room so you don't get caught up in doom scrolling. Or even like I said earlier with the gym, one of the biggest reasons why I was able to go to the gym that day is because I already had my gym bag prepped. I prepped my gym bag the night before, but because I had my environment set and prepped up in a way to where when I don't feel like it, everything is easily within reach. It makes it easy for you to take that action when you don't feel like it. Because when you're wasting time trying to get stuff together and figure it out, it encourages the procrastination and it just kills your motivation even more. And then at some point, you just ain't gonna do the task to begin with. You're just gonna say the hell with it. So when you start prepping your environment to make it easy for you to take action, this is going to allow you to put yourself in a position to gain momentum. And as I said earlier, once you start gaining momentum, the motivation will follow. Another good example could be prepping your clothes the night before. Let's say, for example, you're just having a crappy morning, you don't feel like going to work. Just imagine how much easier your morning will be that, yeah, you don't feel like going to work, but you had your clothes prepped the night before. You had your lunch already ready to go. When you prep your environment, it makes it easier for you to take the required action to do things when you don't feel like it. That way, you're not going to hit so much resistance. If you don't have your environment prepped in a way for you to be successful, it's going to be 10 times easier for you to not do the things you're supposed to do when you don't feel like it. It's going to make it harder. But man, relying on motivation to be successful in life, that's non-existent. That's not a good mindset to have. If you start doing things where you don't feel like, at least make an attempt, taking the small actions and prepping your environment up is going to make it easier for you to do things where you don't feel like it and allowing you to get in a position where you can enter flow state or gain momentum is what I like to call it. Thus making it easy for you to stay consistent, thus making it easy for you to work towards accomplishing your goals. If anything in this video resonated with you, please drop a comment below and let me know what part. And if you want me to make more content like this, or if you found any value here, join the community, man. We're on road to get 100 subscribers. We're about 20 away. And I'm working on staying consistent, bringing y'all value every day with each video. I'm also working on my podcast. Stay tuned to that. And it's your boy Speaks, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.